Hello, everybody. It's Saturday, April 4th, and we was just talking about the war on Iran. It's been going on for a while, and it's still going, and we see kind of news contradiction, and the village idiot every day has a different take on the war. We won regime. We destroyed their instruction. We destroyed their military. We destroyed their whatever. We are winning. We are not winning. We don't care if we are winning. What is winning? And asking for trillions of dollars for the military for to fight a country with $8 billion military. That, according to him, its army, its leader, it's been destroyed. So why this keeps on going, and people blaming Israel and Netanyahu as if the United States needs some help to, or their history of violence and invasion and attacking needs some clown like Netanyahu, a criminal, a war criminal that he's just been accused of committing genocide in Gaza for over 2 years, and now they wanna blame everything on Israel, and Israel dragged the American, and Israel has Epstein file on Trump, all this bullshit. This is an American war. This is not Netanyahu's war. This is not Trump's war. It is an American war. It is in the making for years, and it's like any other war. We cannot blame Nixon. We cannot blame Jackson for Vietnam, or Kennedy, or Bush for Afghanistan and Iraq. This is an American empire that is exercising their military might to secure resources to their corporate hegemony and their corporate greed, and to the military industry complex. No, so I'm not gonna hear more about Trump or Netanyahu, but we're gonna have here Professor Williams. Morning. How are you doing, Professor Williams?
I'm well, thank you.
Where are you now?
I'm in California.
So this is what your home now?
Yes, I've retired and I've moved to San Jose, California.
And you've been paying attention to Iran. You lived there, almost 50 years experience. You wrote books about Iran. You have a very good understanding about the Iranian history, culture, mind. And you wrote an article. What's the publication here?
This is American Community Media. It's a website
Okay.
that is a feed for many publications. So it's a news site that many publications draw upon.
I see. This is so the people who kind of say the things that the American people should read or should listen.
Well, we always hope so.
That the mainstream media will not publish. You go to an outlet like that.
It's very difficult these days to try to have a platform on mainstream media. Mostly, the mainstream media relies on think tanks and lobbying groups. So it's very hard especially for academic commentators, to have any influence in the mainstream media. Occasionally, one can get an article published in local newspapers like the Minnesota Star Tribune. But in general, it is really very, very difficult for experts in the field outside of government organizations and professional think tanks to have any kind of influence on public opinion.
Your article, the title was "Why Trump Cannot Win in Iran." I mean, he's been saying he is winning for 3 or 4 weeks, and he keeps shifting his take on the war, contrary to what everybody, what analysts saying, is not winning. At least American not winning, but Iran is not losing either. So it's kind of, and half of his military general or staff, they either fired or left, and so let's go to your article. Why America cannot win this war? What is so special about it? I mean, it hasn't even won any war since World War II. So why this is a surprise to you that's not going to win this war? They didn't war in Vietnam or Afghanistan or in Iraq or other things. So why so special about this war?
Well, there is nothing special about this war except for the fact that it was even more poorly planned than any of the other military operations that the United States has carried out since World War II. This has been a really a disaster in military terms. The United States, of course, has thrown a lot of bombs and exploded things in Iran, but there was never any clear end goal to this incursion in Iran. The President Trump could never articulate what he expected to happen, and every time he came before the public and was asked about the end goal for this operation in Iran, he gave a different answer. So we don't know. It was regime change. It was secure the oil. It was to try to stop nuclear development. All of these things were
Epstein.
reasons that he gave. Right, exactly. And he so we're left guessing as to what in the world his actual motivation was. And of course, many people have pointed out that it may not have been the United States goal at all, but the entire operation may have been driven by the interests of Israel and of Benjamin
Do
Netanyahu.
you buy this argument?
Which argument? The one about Netanyahu?
Yeah, that
Yes, I
Netanyahu.
well, it certainly was. It certainly has been a goal of Netanyahu and the Israelis to try to completely destroy not only Iran but also every other government in the Middle East that they thought was possibly threatening Israel. And this goes back all the way to the Clinton administration. We had neoconservatives who had a plan that they laid out, starting with the Clinton administration and carrying on through the George W. Bush administration. That was how to secure safety for Israel in the Middle East, and that was essentially to destroy all of the governments between Iran and Israel. That is Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Iran. And to make sure that the governments in those areas were changed to governments that would be more favorable or at least not as hostile to Israel. So this has been a long-standing goal on the part of Israel. And they had, of course, a very willing partner with Trump because the Obama administration had essentially a very strong and very robust agreement that had been negotiated diplomatically with Iran during the Obama administration. And aside from Trump's feelings about Iran, he wanted to erase anything that Barack Obama had done that would be positive in the Obama administration. So when Trump came into office the first time as in 2016, he eliminated the JCPOA, the Joint Plan of Action, that curtailed Iran's nuclear development in return for sanctions relief. And Iran's situation was stable with regard to the United States as a result of Obama's administration. So Trump immediately eliminated that. And of course, the Iranians went right back to enriching uranium. They don't have a nuclear weapons program and never did. But since they saw that the United States was going to react to them every time they enriched uranium to a higher percentage of saturation, they used that as a lever in order to try to negotiate with the United States.
I know we talked a lot about Trump, what Trump is trying to erase Obama. I don't think Trump can even locate Iran on the map. But the Iranian history, and you talk about their history, that this is a civilization and the religious nature of Shiaism and all of that. Those are the ones that make it very hard and very difficult. So kind of revisit this again.
First of all, if we take a look at the nations that used to be part of the Ottoman Empire until World War I, these are nations that emerged from World War I as essentially British and French colonial territory, and they were created out of whole cloth out of the Ottoman Empire. That is Iraq, Jordan, Syria in its present form, Lebanon, and Israel. These are all artificial nations. They do not have a history as integral territories, and so it was possible for in the case of Iraq or in the case of Syria for a strong man or a strong leader to become a unitary dictator. And so it was by eliminating Saddam Hussein or eliminating Bashar al-Assad, the government essentially could be eliminated. Iran is very, very different from all of these countries. Iran is an integral, deep, with a history, nation with a very deep history and a very deep cultural tradition. And it is also much larger than any of these other countries. Iran has 92 million people. It is not like Princess Damascus or like Baghdad. It is not a nation with only one very, very large city. There are half a dozen cities throughout Iran that have well over 1 million population, and they're distributed pretty widely throughout the country. Mashhad, Isfahan, Tabriz, Shiraz, as well as Tehran, and its infrastructure is also very widely distributed. So its economy does not depend on one region or one area. It also has it has vast resources. So the idea that you could drop a bomb on Tehran and have everything collapse is completely ridiculous. It just simply, in geographic and economic terms, is not possible. So that is one factor that makes it extremely difficult to think about just simply throwing a lot of bombs at Iran and having the country collapse. But the second reason is that Iranians are very used to foreign powers trying to interfere in their affairs. They've been dealing with this for almost 200 years now. In the 19th century, Russia and Great Britain were more or less controlling the internal politics of Iran, and that continued all the way down to World War II. During World War II, the British essentially deposed the ruler, Reza Shah, and installed his son, Mohammad Reza Shah. This was in 1941, who was quite young, and that essentially neutered Iran in throughout World War II and made sure that Iran was not going to ally itself with Germany and with the Axis powers. Not that Germany didn't try. They they came to Iran and they said to the Iranians, you know, you folks are not Arabs, you're Aryans like us, and so therefore you should be allied with us. And some Iranians thought that was a pretty good idea, but they were essentially under the control of the British. But after World War II, the British gradually began to withdraw from the Middle East, and they fully withdrew by 1972 from the Persian Gulf area and that area. And the United States came in and became the neo-colonial power that was most influential in Iran. And the United States continued to interfere in Iranian politics. What the United States wanted Iran to do, and also wanted Saudi Arabia to do, was to serve as a counter to the Soviet Union. So Iran and Saudi Arabia during the 1960s, 1970s was considered to be a tool of the United States in the Cold War. And the United States provided Iran with a tremendous amount of military equipment. The United States also was responsible for initiating Iran's nuclear program. So
a lot of people do not know that.
It actually started as far back as the Eisenhower administration. So if Iran has a nuclear program today, it's because the United States started it. What eventually happened was that the Shah, with the help of the United States, had a tremendous amount of military equipment, and began to repress the people of Iran using the increased military equipment and the funding that came from the United States in order to create an internal police force that essentially suppressed the population. And this led to the revolution of 1978 and 1979. So the revolution came in 1978, 1979. The United States was then essentially kicked out of Iran, and there was, of course, a real backlash against the United States, who had admitted the Shah for medical treatment to the United States, and the Iranians thought that the United States was going to try to reinstall the Shah.
And they did that in 54.
And they did that in 1953.
53.
That's right, when Mohammad Mossadegh essentially caused the Shah to go into exile. So the United States has a long history of interference with Iran. So they were afraid that the United States would try to reinstall the Shah, and this was the reason that students occupied the American embassy, and the U.S. hostage crisis was carried out for 444 days. And for people in Washington, this was an unforgivable act, and there are still people like John Bolton, for example, who will never forgive Iran for the hostage crisis.
He wrote an article today. I was stumbled with that kind of justifying the war. I thought this guy has issues with Trump, but he's saying that the Iranian are done. The Iranian cannot defend themselves, and a lot of Americans start realizing that.
Yeah, I saw Bolton's article. John Bolton has been unequivocally opposed to Iran completely ever since the hostage crisis. There's never a chance that John Bolton would say anything slightly positive about Iran.
Or objective.
Or objective, right? Yeah. He is a complete hawk. And to the point where he actually has supported Iranian opposition groups, even opposition groups that are allied with Marxism and other. It doesn't matter to Bolton as long as the Iranian government is eliminated.
But I know this war is more than a personal war. This is war. Any war and any interference, foreign interference by the American, at least they have the decency to explain us and make a case. I mean,
Yeah, that's
Trump doesn't have to do that. He just I
no.
want it, I this, and I want to change the regime and every week. But talk to us about the nature, the culture nature, because
Yeah,
you
but
put some
let me
emphasis.
go ahead. Let me go ahead and point out this long history of interference on the part of foreign powers in Iran is well known to Iranians. It is a major theme in Iranian culture. And so when Trump comes in and begins bombing places in Iran, the Iranians, even though I would say probably the majority of Iranians are not uh, really opposed to their own government, they still are very nationalistic. And the bombing that's taken place has bombed cultural heritage sites, schools, the Pasteur Institute, and has caused the loss of much innocent life. And so, for the Iranians, given the choice between their opposition to their own government and resistance to a foreign power, they will always choose resistance to a foreign
Is this
power.
different? Any other nation been attacked, rally behind the flag, 9/11, not even a country attacking us, and everybody rally behind Bush. And so this is the natural things for national
That's
uh,
correct.
attack to and nothing. But go ahead, finish.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. But there's another theme here too, and that is that in Shiism, in Shia Islam, there is a major theme which is the resistance to injustice, and resistance to injustice is manifested in the history of Shia Islam and the martyrdom of Imam Hussein way back in the
Hmm.
7th century. Imam
Yeah,
Hussein was the grandson of the Prophet.
long memory, huh?
Long memory, and his he was called by the people of Kufa in Iraq to assume leadership, and the Sunni faction of Islam opposed him, and they trapped his family and his supporters in the city of Karbala, and eventually all of the males in the family were slaughtered, and the females and the children were all removed to Damascus and made slaves. So but for Shia Muslims, this event is a central event in their religious belief, and you find it demonstrated all the time, but especially in the month of Muharram, the first month of
But
the lunar
the
calendar.
Iranian now, I know since the revolution, they were running by the core religious leader, but those leaders now are gone, and now you have a younger leader that they really they don't buy into this, and the
Well,
older the older
the
leader were incompetent. They were saying now the younger leader are more competent as far as running a country and fight. Has nothing to
well,
do with religion. It's just the fact that they are competent military and managerial to really fight a superpower.
well. Let me point out that despite despite the religious leadership of the country, the cultural theme that I've been talking about is completely ingrained in Iranian life. So it creates a kind of an ethic, a kind of a cultural theme that is not dependent on any particular religious leader.
Mm.
You find it absolutely everywhere, and the idea of sacrifice and martyrdom is so ingrained in everyday life that it actually becomes a social gesture. So when you are talking to someone, when you're talking to a person, a greeting that you may use, and the way you sign off on your correspondence is Gorban Shema, which means "May I be your sacrifice." Uh, yeah, it is.
I'm sorry I mean, you talked about justice in Shiaism, justice in Islam in general. And people ask me, oh, Islam, religion of peace and about peace. No, it wasn't really that the core value of Islam is justice,
That's
bringing
correct.
justice to life. But people talk about the Iranian fanatic. The fanatic, I mean, and kind of reduce the whole conflict in history to some fanatic running the country. And in fact, the most fanatic people are the Trump's administration, the one who think Trump is a messiah. And when you listen to some of his administration, they are more fanatic than the Ayatollah.
Well, and you see Pete Hegseth
Yeah,
talking about attacking Iran in the name of Jesus.
yeah.
I mean, that's he actually said that. He said we're attacking Iran in the name of
Which
Jesus.
Jesus he's talking about?
I don't know. I mean, I think most Americans don't understand that Jesus is also revered in Islam. I
Yeah.
mean, that Jesus is actually a figure in
He's a
Islamic
prophet,
theology,
and
and as a
mentioned the
prophet and so
Quran
forth.
a lot,
Uh,
80 times.
but nevertheless, when you get the Secretary of Defense talking about attacking someone in the name of Jesus, that's hardly that also smacks of a kind of fanaticism that
That's a bankrupt. That's a somebody doesn't know history or culture. This is just a bankrupt leader. But
but I want to point out one
yeah,
other
I
thing,
keep
and there's a
interrupting you because we only have 5 minutes left here.
okay, well, there's a practical matter here that one
Okay,
has to understand.
okay,
At the time of the revolution in 1978, 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini was worried that the regular army would rise up and stop the revolution
yeah,
and
yeah,
would
yeah.
would overthrow the government. So he established the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and that was a paramilitary force that was supposed to protect the revolution and also was supposed to expand the revolution to other areas of the Middle East, to Lebanon, to Bahrain, to Yemen. And over time, the Revolutionary Guard Corps became the most powerful force in the entire Iranian government, to the point where really the mullahs and the religious leaders actually don't matter in practical terms.
Lost control over them.
They've lost control completely.
Mhm.
They legislate stuff having to do with social behavior, women wearing hijab, and things of that sort. But the real power lies with the IRGC, with the Revolutionary Guard Corps. They control the economy. They control foreign. They control foreign power. They control. They become extraordinarily rich through smuggling and through the control of trade. And these folks are not going to give up power. Since Iran is a very hierarchical society, there are people who are always waiting in the wings to assume leadership when other people are eliminated. So every time you knock out one of these major leaders of the IRGC, there are dozens of people right behind them, ready to step up and assume leadership, and they are entrenched, and they will not stop. So this is very different from, again, Saddam Hussein or Bashar al-Assad, where when you eliminated the head of state, the whole thing
There
crumbled.
was a report that even the Republican Guard, they're very decentralized. They don't have just one like Saddam Hussein, one like even if you hit a unit, another unit makes decision independently. So
To sort of sum up, Trump cannot win. He can't win. First of all, the Iranian public is, despite the fact that they're really not happy with their government, the Iranian public is going to resist any incursion by the United States. And they're supported by this cultural tradition that shows that sacrifice is worth it in order to combat injustice. And then you have a structural mechanism in the IRGC that is so entrenched and so much in control of power that they are also not going to be able to be eliminated. And so, no matter how long the United States throws bombs at Iran, they're not going to be able to make to actually create some kind of regime change or some kind of surrender. The Iranians are not going to surrender, and there's not going to be regime change. So the only thing that's going to stop this war is for the United States to go away, to get out of the country. And let me also point out that Iran is rich in resources. Iran is able to manufacture everything it needs,
They've been
including
embargo for how many years?
that's right, including it has enough agriculture, it has enough in terms of minerals and steel production, and they can outlast anything that the United States does. It's not a situation like, for instance, Saudi Arabia, where they don't have a food supply. So there really is no way for the United States to effectively create a situation where Iran would have to surrender. This was very, very ill conceived on the part of Trump, and he's not. He really is stuck, and we're going to pay the price in the United States and the rest of the world in terms of in terms of supplies coming through the Persian Gulf, through the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran will not relent until the United States gives up.
Speaking of Strait of Hormuz, do you see an analogy and the declining of empire after like the British in 56 Suez Canal crisis, they call it crisis, which is an invasion of Egypt, and Nasser closed Suez Canal, and Eisenhower and Soviet Union ultimatum for the British and the French and Israelis to get out, and that was the end or the beginning of the declining of the British Empire?
Well, yes, absolutely, and these are not the only choke points in the world. There's also the there's also the head of the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandab,
That was Yemen.
with Yemen and with Somalia. And it's actually quite interesting that Israel decided to recognize Somaliland, which is a breakaway part of Somalia. You know that the reason that they did that is in order to be able to try to effect control of the Bab el-Mandab. We also have the Straits of Sumatra. That's another choke point that the Chinese are looking at, of course. So we have these geographical choke points in the world, and people know that it doesn't take very much to control them.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and to try to essentially blackmail the rest of the world as a result.
Well, Professor William Beeman is the professor. You now retired, but you were professor of anthropology at the University of Minnesota, and you wrote a book about the Mad Mullah and Great Satan, and there's the Mad Mullah, and are
Well,
the Mullah still mad?
it's really interesting. The Great Satan versus the Mad Mullahs. That was my book. It was written in 2005, and I am amazed. I mean, I take it down and I take a look at it, open the book, and you see that everything in the book is still true. So that was a long time ago, almost 20. It was more than 20 years ago that I wrote this book, and nothing really has changed in the relationship between Iran and the United States.
Do you think would have made a difference if Trump read that book?
If Trump read anything, it would make a difference. But Trump doesn't read. Trump doesn't read anything at all.
He got a divine connection.
He doesn't even read his own intelligence reports. He has, someone kind of recite little snippets of his intelligence reports, and of course, whoever talked to him last is the person who influences him. So.
We are in trouble, aren't we?
We are in great trouble, and I don't know how in the world we're going to be able to to extricate ourselves. Certainly, it's not going to change until our governmental structure changes. And I think that those who point to the November elections as the only possibility for curtailing the excesses of the Trump administration are quite correct. That's the only
Well,
thing
we
that will
have the
happen.
Democrats, and they still make the same. They still
Democrats are
they smile
Democrat.
when they do it, but that's the
Well,
difference.
and I will also point out that that no politician, I don't care, Republican or Democrat, ever lost a vote by attacking Iran. Um,
Oh,
Iran is
really?
Iran is absolutely poison for both Republicans and Democrats. So
From Carter to
from Carter all the way down to the present day.
well,
So
on that note, thank you so much, Professor Beeman, and enjoy your stay there in California. And I'm
thank
sure
you.
we'll time soon. And thank you so much for giving us
Thank
some time and some
uh,
insights.
thank you very much. I've always enjoyed being on
No, this
your
is
podcast,
yes.
and I think you're doing a great public service.
Thank you so much. This is Ahmed ranting every morning, but that's what we got left. But thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the day.
You're welcome. Thank you.